The story begins in the era of 1942, when Japan launched a sudden attack on America. After this, America wanted to take revenge on Japan at any cost. For this mission, several U.S. Navy aircraft were sent to the South Pacific Ocean so that they could target the Japanese air bases located there. One of those aircraft had 3 people on board: a pilot named Harold, a navigator and bomb dropper named Tony, and a radio operator named Gene. Now, as they were returning after targeting the Japanese airbase, they went in the wrong direction, which caused them to lose their way. And at that time, their fuel tank was also running out. Gene, who was the radio operator, tried to contact backup, but due to poor signal, there was no response. After this, they kept circling around in the sky for a while, but now their fuel was about to run out. So pilot Harold says that they will have to make an emergency landing in the sea. He tells his companions to take out the essential items, and now their plane lands in the middle of the sea. After landing, Harold's seatbelt comes undone, but Tony and Gene's belts don't open and they start sinking with the aircraft. After a lot of effort, their belts finally open too, and then all 3 of them get onto a raft. Now they had nothing to eat or drink. All their belongings had sunk with the plane, and now in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, all they could see was water everywhere. But even so, they hold on to hope that a rescue team will find them and they will survive. After a while, they spot an aircraft in the sky, but their raft was very small, and from such a height, it was extremely difficult to see this tiny raft. They also didn't have a flare gun to signal for help. As a result, the rescue aircraft couldn't see them and simply passed by. After this, the pilot says that this was our last chance. Tony says that they can't just leave us in this vast ocean like this. Then Harold says that they're not going to come back and search the same spot again and again. This means now they'll have to find a way out of here on their own. Among all of them, Harold is the most senior. He explains to everyone that they're stuck here and the journey ahead is going to be very long. He tells everyone to take off their shoes, and all 3 of them remove their shoes. But there's no space to keep their belongings in their small raft. So Harold says that they'll have to throw their shoes into the sea. After this, Tony and Gene throw their shoes away, but Harold doesn't throw his. Gene asks, "Why didn't you throw your shoes?" He replies, "If we find land, these shoes could save someone's life." In this way, their first day at sea passes without food or water. The biggest problem is that there isn't enough space in the raft for all 3 of them to sleep comfortably at the same time, so they take turns sleeping. Now at night, Harold asks, "Does anyone want some water?" Tony and Gene are surprised. Where did he get water from? Just then, Harold urinates in his shoe and drinks it, because now it's not so easy for them to find water here. The next morning, they estimate that Hawaii is about 1,900 miles from here, while South America is... The other city is more than 6,000 miles away from them. Because he is a pilot, Harold has an excellent sense of location and direction. Harold said that if we kept going on this raft like this, we could reach land in a few weeks. Hearing this, Tony gets worried and says that if we stay in the middle of the sea for so many days, we'll die of hunger and thirst before we reach land. At that moment, Jean says there are plenty of fish in the sea. We can survive because of them. So we should try. After this, they have only a little bit of supplies left, among which they find a magazine spring. With that spring, they make a fish hook and drop it into the water. Soon, something gets caught on their hook. But when they try to pull it up, the rope breaks. Seeing this, Jean says that there's someone in the water hungrier than us. During the day, the sun is very harsh here. That's why, fed up with the heat, Jean jumps into the water and starts swimming around, thoroughly enjoying himself. Seeing him, Tony is about to jump in too, but Harold stops him, saying that the sea is full of sharks. Hearing this, Jean also comes back onto the raft. Slowly, time passes, and now they've been on this small raft for 5 days. In these 5 days, they hadn't eaten any food or drunk any water. Because of this, all 3 had become very weak. Now Tony couldn't take it anymore and started drinking seawater. But Harold stops him and explains that seawater dehydrates a person even more. In fact, the main reason they were all stuck here was Harold, who had gone in the wrong direction, and because they ran out of fuel, they were now stranded here. Just then, Harold remembers that he has a pencil in the pocket of his shirt. After this, he uses the pencil to draw a chart on the side of the raft, recording an estimate of their location. Then he says that they need to stop the raft from drifting with the wind because they are getting farther away from land. So he makes a small anchor using his life jacket and other belongings, which will keep their boat in one place. Then, as soon as the wind blows in the direction they need to go, he will remove the anchor, and in this way, they will reach their destination using the wind. After this, they begin to pray. Jean says that there have been many mistakes in our lives, but now we need your help. Tony also says that what we need most is rain. Please make it rain so that we can drink water, but it doesn't rain. Now, at night, while they are sleeping, it suddenly starts to rain. After being stranded at sea, this was the first time all three of them drank water as their bodies were breaking down from dehydration, and now, for the first time, they felt hope of survival. Now, the next day, we see that Jean is trying to catch fish. Harold laughs and says, "I've never seen a more patient hunter than you." A long time passes, and Jean doesn't catch anything. Just then, he spots a fish under his boat. Jean takes out a knife from his pocket, but Harold explains that this will make a hole in the boat. But Jean ignores Harold's warning and strikes the water with the knife. Everyone thinks that the knife has struck the boat. Jean also gets scared. Then they realize that the knife had actually struck the fish. Jean pulls it up and together they kill it, making this their first meal after a week of hunger. Everyone becomes happy and their spirits are lifted. After eating the fish, Harold says, "When I go home, my wife will be angry." He asks Tony and Jean, "Are you two married?" Tony says, "I'm not married, but I do have a girlfriend." Jean says, "I'm neither married nor do I have a girlfriend." Tony jokes, "Then when we get back, you should meet my sister." They are all chatting among themselves when suddenly some sharks start circling around them. Everyone holds their breath, but luckily the sharks don't attack and swim away from there. As evening falls, everyone becomes weak again, and they feel very hungry. After a while, when Jean puts his hand in the water, a shark injures his hand, but the wound isn't very deep. The next day, Jean spots what looks like land in the distance. He says, maybe it's an island, but Tony explains to him that it's just a trick of the mind. There's nothing ahead. Now, 15 days have passed for them. Tony has a gun in his hand. Just then, Jean says, "Be quiet and give me the gun." At that moment, Tony sees a bird sitting on their boat. Jean immediately shoots and kills it, but it falls into the sea. After this, Harold quickly jumps into the water to retrieve it and manages to catch it. But then, a large shark appears from behind. He barely escapes and climbs back onto the raft, while the shark swims away under their boat. In this way, after 15 days, they finally get something to eat again. But as more time passes at sea, it starts to affect their minds, and before they know it, 20 days have gone by on the ocean. In 20 days, they had only eaten twice. One morning, Harold sees that Tony and Jean are sleeping, and no one is paying attention to the direction of the wind. He angrily says, "I told you to keep watching the wind direction." Jean, frustrated, says, "It's been 20 days and we haven't found the island. You were wrong." Harold, embarrassed, says, "Maybe I just imagined it. Maybe the island wasn't real." Tony and Jean angrily say, "Because of your mistake, we're here today, because you went in the wrong direction." "All of this happened because of you." Harold admits it. "At that time, I had dozed off on the plane. When I woke up, the scene had changed, and we had come very far." Harold explains that the radio frequency had malfunctioned. Because of this, they ran out of fuel and had to land in the sea. He admits his mistake, apologizes, and starts to cry. After this, Harold picks up the map made on the lifeboat and says that now only this map can take us home. Harold comes up with a plan. He turns his boot into a paddle so that they can steer in whichever direction they need to go. Tony laughs and says, "Whoever spots the island first, the other two will treat him to dinner." But the journey was very long. Days went by. By the end of the day, all three become so weak that they don't even have the strength to speak because they are extremely hungry and thirsty. That same night, it rains and they finally get water. But immediately, a dangerous storm arises and their lifeboat capsizes. But all three survive. After this, they manage to right the boat and with great difficulty, climb back onto the lifeboat. By the next morning, everyone has lost hope, and the three of them are lying on the lifeboat like living corpses. Harold is shedding tears remembering his wife, and Jean starts seeing the face of Tony's sister, which was actually an image formed in his mind from Tony's stories. Jean says, "I can see your sister. It seems I've fallen in love with her." Tony laughs and says, "Yeah, you two would make a good couple." Harold says, "I'm sorry that you guys got stuck in this trouble with me. Maybe we won't make it out alive." Then he gathers his courage and starts rowing again. Seeing this, Tony and Jean also regain their spirits. By the 34th day, all three of them are lying on the boat in a state like corpses. In a faint voice, Tony says, "I had a dream that I was in a field full of greenery." Harold replies, "I've had that dream twice myself." After a while, Jean looks out at the sea and shouts, "I can see something green." Maybe it's an island. Harold and Tony immediately look. It really is a small island. All three of their faces light up with hope. They start pushing the boat, and after a few hours, they reach the shore and collapse from exhaustion. After wandering the sea for 34 days, they finally set foot on land. In front of them, they see small houses, which are signs of their survival. At the end of the movie, it is revealed that they traveled nearly 1,000 miles in the lifeboat. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. See you in the next video.